Now, as a parent, you try to affirm to your children that you love them all equally. And we do, but not today. Melissa left our house when she was 16 years old and really never returned. She went off to college at MSU, Channel 6 in Lansing, 7 and 4 in Traverse City, Davenport, Iowa, and back to Traverse City. She had a dream of becoming a television, and she did. Melissa met Phil in Traverse City as an employee of a rival TV station, 9 and 10, and started dating. And I was introduced from Phil from day one, and he's always been a kind and gentle person to Melissa. Melissa, you look beautiful today, and you and Phil are a beautiful couple. Melissa and Phil, I have one story to tell you. Life moves fast for us to take every single moment of every single day, so make the most of life. Find the people you love and never stop loving them, because one day they won't be around anymore. And one last thing, as you know, I hope you never, ever go to bed angry at each other. Do like your mom and I do, stay up all night and fight.
Where do you get that
All right, thanks so much, Dan. For those of you who might not know me, I'm Phil's younger brother, the middle brother of the family. Man. Well, it's been a really exciting time for Phil and Melissa, along with our families, to bring this day together. I'd just like to thank everyone here for joining us. It means the world to everyone involved to make this day extra special for the awesome couple you see sitting right over there. To Phil and Melissa, I just want to say congratulations. This day truly marks what undoubtedly is an exciting and bright next chapter to your lives. For me, this is truly a magical day to witness alongside my older brother and now my new sister. So obviously Phil has always been my older brother, and to this day people still mistake me for him. Little Phil is kind of what some people would call me as a nickname from kids around town who knew Phil but might not have known me. We aren't twins, obviously, but we definitely have always been similar in many ways. Ninja Turtles, to downhill skiing, to guitars, to world travel, to both ending up back in northern Michigan. In a lot of ways, we have kind of followed each other's paths. It was fun thinking back on so many childhood memories, and I could probably go on all day thinking about all those awesome things we got to do. Living in Traverse City for the first time, and having our neighbors, Mike and Peggy Wagner, get us involved in the local ski racing team. They're sitting right over there. Thanks so much for that. Before we knew, we were seasoned ski slope shredders, along with their son Andrew and Phil's good friends Mark Goethel and John Fahey. Our dad even took us on a road trip out to Colorado to see our grandmother's hometown of Telluride and experience our first time skiing in the Rocky Mountains when we were probably around 10 or 13 years old. I know those kinds of experiences have stuck with both of us and have fostered a love for the outdoors and other kinds of adventure. So to my parents, thank you for the amazing childhood we were able to live, and your unwavering love and support has always been key in the lives of my brother and I. My brothers and I. Sorry. Zach just came along, I don't know. He's got blonde hair, I don't know. From all the sports activities to letting us make a noisy racket in the first ever jam sessions in our basement, I got to be alongside for a wide variety of activity with Phil that I think helped me be a little more experienced than a lot of maybe my immediate peers. So for me, Phil has always been the pioneering brother to sort of blaze the trail, take the reins on his own ideas, and take chances to make something of his own. Some of you might know he has a pretty entrepreneurial spirit, and this is something I've always admired about him. He's always had a way of taking an idea, believing in it, and following through to make it a reality. So for Phil to find someone like Melissa who shares and supports, that same sort of spirit and is really special and important thing that I think will only strengthen their relationship for many years to come. I was lucky enough to be around when Phil and Melissa first met. I believe it was the summer of 2014. Phil was pretty excited to be talking to this girl named Melissa Smith. I was like, Melissa Smith, well, that would be convenient. I thought to myself that I felt like I at least knew of her, but not totally sure how. Eventually, I figured out that Melissa was the sister of one of my MSU classmates, Danny Smith, who I remember mentioning to me about her in one of my classes when one day I mentioned I was from Traverse City. So ironically, Danny and I knew each other before Phil and Melissa met. Which is kind of crazy. Small world. I remember the first couple of times meeting Melissa and thinking, yeah, she's definitely gorgeous, and noticed she really had an amazing way of making people smile when she was around. As that summer went on and into the fall, I would hear from Phil or my parents, and it sounded like Phil really liked this girl. Something about him did seem different once he met her, and seemed to have light a fire in him. So as I sit here today, I think that this rings true for him, and I couldn't be happier for such a great guy to have found such a beautiful and amazing girl who seems to have click with him in a way that no one else can. Even Melissa's 3 feline children, Stella, Bella, and Lola, Phil has fit in nicely singing impromptu songs to the little kiddos at their place. I've heard my mom say that Phil and I are kind of like 2 peas in a pod, and I'm grateful we've been able to share many great things together growing up. And I look forward to everything ahead as it only gets better from here. Having Melissa around from now on is really great to be a blessing, and it will be a blessing. And so I'd like to just raise our glasses to new horizons, unwavering love, happiness, and not stop adventures for these 2 kids. I love you guys dearly, and this has been an honor. So with that, let's have the good times roll. Thank you.
Okay, so for those of you that don't know me, I am Melissa's sister Jacqueline, and I'm also the maid of honor, but I wanted to give a special recognition to our younger brother Danny, who filled in for my shoes because I don't live locally to Melissa, and he helped Melissa and Phil with so many details and probably did a much better job than I could have ever have done if I was local, but down to the place settings and everything. Danny knows. Melissa's the oldest of our family, so that kind of made her a natural leader and compassionate person in general. She's been my best buddy since day one. I mean, she's been my sidekick, and she's always found a way to help Maureen, Danny, and I, whether it's late night papers and she has to get up at 2 a.m. or look over my resume, or we've also been roommates to Melissa, each of us, one or time, or maybe twice, either for helping us to finish up a semester or an internship that we needed to take. She's never put us down for, I don't have time to do that. She makes the time, and she'll make those late nights for us. Melissa supports and pushes those around her to be better people. Many of her weekends are spent actually volunteering and raising money for charities and fighting for animal rights. Melissa wants to see others that she loves and the world around her a better place. Some of you may not know, but Melissa actually had brain surgery this past February to remove an acoustic neuroma, which was a benign tumor in her inner ear, and it required her to actually take off 2 months of work for extensive recovery and for her to gain her balance back. And we actually had told her, we're like, Melissa, maybe you should think about postponing the wedding. Like this past October, we told her that. And she's like, no, I'm not postponing it. I'm going to do it. And it's going to go fine. And she did. And we're here. So when Melissa says she's going to do something, she means it. And she can be quite a stubborn person at times. In fact, in 8th grade, Melissa wrote in her class book, and her good friend Leah Petrovich could probably attest to this. The question was, where do you see yourself in 30 years? And she said, I see myself living in Traverse City happily with my husband and raising a family. And after living here for a few years, she also said she wanted to someday get married at a vineyard. So she met that goal. And my mom could also attest to this. She also said when we were younger, she was never going to change her last name. And this stuff is, I'm not kidding, this stuff is true. And if she did, her husband would have to change his last name. So I'm glad that worked out for you. And Phil, I swear, she does love you. She doesn't love you just for the last name or the fact you live in Traverse City. But something I think that's really special about Melissa and Phil's relationship was that Melissa lived up here for a few years, and she and Phil both, prior to knowing each other, they moved outside of Michigan, outside of northern Michigan, to just pursue different opportunities and experience life. But within the same months of each other, they both happened to move back to Traverse City, still not knowing one another. And that summer, Melissa moved back in the winter to Traverse City, and that summer she met Mr. Philip Smith. And I remember Melissa calling me and telling me that Phil had asked her out. And so I was like, oh my gosh, so I log on Facebook, doing the stalkerish thing that I had to do. And I remember looking through his pictures and seeing pictures of him with his grandparents and his parents and his cousins and his brothers, and they were so similar to the type of pictures that Melissa posts on Facebook. And I thought right there, I was like, this is a good one. And Melissa also, in her phone call when she called me, she goes, yeah. And the funny thing is, I guess I found out from my friend, was it Evie or what? Eva, which I think is here. She's actually friends with his brother Zach, and Zach actually reached out to her and was like, okay, give me the lowdown on Melissa Smith. So right there, I was like, okay, something that Maureen, Danny, or I would do. I guess Zach went about it a less creepy way than I did by stalking through his pictures, but you know, family is Melissa's most important thing to Melissa, and something that she's put for first her entire life. So, my first time actually talking, and I guess you could say meeting Phil, was via a phone chat that we had, FaceTime. Actually, Melissa and Phil had driven down to my parents' house, and I remember Melissa being goofy on the floor, talking to the cat and dog in these high-pitched voices, just being herself. And I just loved it because you were you, and you looked so happy. And I couldn't remember not smiling because I just thought, she's happy. And Phil, you were in the background whistling, and of course, making, I think, some kind of soup on the stove. So you were totally in your element, and everything just felt right. So I'm so happy Melissa has found such a genuine, compassionate and caring person like you. Both of you guys inspire each other. You inspire me. I look at your social media. You guys are, driven, and I'm so happy that she's found someone like you. So congrats to you guys, and Phil, welcome to the other Smith clan.
I think we're gonna eat.
Yes.